Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions regarding this watch. So today we're discussing a model that actually goes back to 2013 and the launch of the modern-day 50 Fathoms Bathyscaphe. It's the rarely seen reference 5100, the 38mm Blancpain 50 Fathoms Bathyscaphe model. So 38 in diameter in steel, 10.7 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip, 44 millimeters with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. This is an interesting watch because at the time it was targeted toward women, but subsequently several versions of the 5100 were launched and aimed at men in our era of smaller case tastes and appetite for shrinking sizes. So a little bit like watches along the lines of Patek Philippe's Calatrava Pilot 7234. What was initially billed as a ladies' watch is now more of a compact unisex model. And you can see on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, it looks actually quite good. It's also flat. Although it's sheer in profile, it sits easily underneath a sleeve, and I'm pulling the strap here pretty hard. Once it breaks, then it'll soften up. But you can see that the lugs are nowhere near the edge of my wrist. You can wear this on a wrist as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference. Mine is 7. Well, no. It's 16. My wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference. I doubt it sometimes these days because it's different depending on when I measure, but 16 is the average. So taking a look at the buckle, you can see, like the watch, it's steel. There's some well-chosen details. There's a little recess for the pin in the buckle, some faceting, satination, and if you look carefully, you can see there's even a little bit of faceting on the outer shoulders of the pin, which is nice work by Blancpain. This is a sailcloth strap, so very durable. And you can clean it aggressively. If you want to take a toothbrush and some baking soda and clean this periodically, it will hold up beautifully. The sailcloth material is almost indestructible, to the point that Blancpain has long lined the underside of these straps with rubber so it won't aggress against your wrist. It's a very durable material and easy to clean because it can take a pounding from your scrubbing, and also harsh materials used. Taking a look at the case, very similar to the bigger Bathyscaphe. It's more historically inspired than something like the 40.3 millimeter 50 Fathoms 5008. The general production 50 Fathoms like the 5008, 5010, 5015, those have a more modern case. This has no stepped lugs. It has squared off lug ends, minimal beveling, no crown guards, a big crown. It's a much more historically driven shape until you get to the dial, where it feels much more like a modern watch, where we have a wonderful 120 click unidirectional rotating dive bezel. This is truly the best feeling and sounding dive bezel on any 50 Fathoms. This is now Rolex quality, or if you're familiar with the somewhat unusual but highly regarded Cartier Calibre de Cartier diver, this is comparable to that. The only other thing I would say is close to this is something like a Grand Seiko diver. Really sharp. White ceramic insert with liquid metal inlays, meaning all of these numerals are actually metal that's co-molded and permanently bonded to the scratch-resistant ceramic. Dial is white lacquer and it looks spectacular. You can see there's no shortage of lume. Let's cut to the lume. And that all three hands are loomed, as is the bezel pearl. So if you want to line up the bezel pearl with the minute hand in the dark, you can do that before starting to dive if you're diving in the dark. Also, the loomed seconds hand makes it easy to see whether your backup dive timer is in fact running before you jump into the water at night. Also important that from a diving standpoint, it's equal to any other standard 50 Fathoms. Screw down crown, 300-meter water resistance. So we do have a subsidiary setting mode. By the way, how much do you love those hybrid baton syringe style hands? So the first thing you can see here is that the watch is still ticking because this is a Frederic Piguet 1150 movement. It does not have hacking seconds. What it does have, however, is a quick set date, so you can rapidly cycle that date. Small details have been minded. You can see that there's a facet and a step down for the date. Instead of having just a sheer cut, there's a downward step to make it just a bit more refined. Turn it all over, and you can see we have a blackened 18-karat white gold rotor with snailing on the outer rim, media blast on the center, beveling on the inner edge, and then this satinated channel that runs around. So 4 finishes on the rotor. You could see the center of the ball bearing features a sunburst. We have Côte de Genève across the bridges, and very credible, albeit series produced, polished bevels. You can also see all screw heads have been polished, and then we've got solarization on the two barrels. Two barrels, automatic winding, 100-hour power reserve. You can see 28 pivot joules. This watch has a 3 hertz beat rate that helps it to get to that 100 hours of reserve. You can see this is adjusted in 6 positions, not the chronometer standard of 5. This is 6. This is one more. That is exceptional. You can see a free sprung balance with aerodynamic recessed timing screws, and then a anti-magnetic silicone hairspring with engine turning on the base plate. Taking a quick look to the outside of the movement, you can see that the outer edges of the bridges have been snailed and that the wheels have been satinated. So what's nice about the free sprung balance is it really will hold that 6-position adjustment against shock, and it is also a very precise way to set a watch, allowing these to keep excellent time. So reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.